welcome to the ICT Pulse podcast. I'm Michelle Marius, your host and the editor and publisher of ICT Pulse, the online platform where we discuss ICT issues from a Caribbean perspective. The term digital transformation has been on everyone's lips these days. Recently, the University of the West Indies in Jamaica had a breakfast forum on the topic, and the Caribbean Development Bank published a discussion paper examining the issue and submitting recommendations for its member countries to consider. Although we have been hearing the term digital transformation for a while now, many of us really don't know what it truly means. To help us to get a better sense of what digital transformation by organizations and by countries entail, we are delighted to have two representatives of the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, which is headquartered in Barbados. Carlyle Assue is the Director, Finance and Information Technology Systems, and Julio Lima is the bank's Chief Information Officer. Gentlemen, welcome to the ICT Pulse podcast.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Michelle.
So just to get us started, can you just give us a brief overview of the CDB, the scope of its work, and your respective roles in the organization?
Well, the Caribbean Development Banks, Michelle, focus on reducing poverty and transform lives within our 19 board member countries. The bank works closely with our board member countries to overcome many of the challenges the region faces, such as the climate change, youth unemployment, and many other challenges that is out there. My role as a Chief Information Officer, I'm responsible here at the Caribbean Development Bank for our digital transformation that aims to disrupt the bank in a positive way and position the information technology division as a strategic partner with our internal business and as well as with the member countries so that we can help our nations with their own digital transformation.
Michelle, as the Director of Finance and IT, I'm actually an accountant by profession.
Right.
My role is basically one to ensure, because I know the business, so my role is to ensure that there's synergy between the IT solutions and the business requirements.
Yes.
So I would ensure that the solutions that Julio and his team come up with are actually relevant to the requirements of the institution.
Excellent. So what does digital transformation mean to both of you? And I guess since you both have different roles, there might be some interesting similarities but differences between how you approach it. So Julio, you want to take it first and then Carlyle?
Sure. The good thing is we both align here. So digital transformation means it's more about people and our culture, changing the culture within the institution than it's about technology. Technology comes as an additional component to that transformation. But really our focus here, the new focus in IT is to change, help with technology, change people behave so they're more productive. So technology is just the vehicle in the end that is there so the business can drive for a better future. It goes really beyond just replace manual and paper-driven processes with automation and a digital content. So really our goal for the digital transformation is having that change in people's mindset so they can become more agile through enabling technologies.
Michelle, from my end, well, first of all, obviously I'm endorsing everything that Julio says. From my end, from the business standpoint, actually a lot of what I will say now would probably be related to the expectations that we expect to achieve at the end of the exercise, right? So in addition to the change of culture, which is critical, we would be basically be ensuring that we are more agile, we are flexible, we are going to be leveraging cloud technology. But I think most importantly, for our member countries, we need to be a trusted partner in guiding them towards their own path towards digitalization.
Yes. And as you said, in terms of the transformation exercise of the bank itself, so what might be some of the strategic objectives and priorities of the CDB in its own digital transformation process?
Well, actually, this year in 2019, we are in the process of laying out a new strategic plan for the years 2020 to 2024. we expect digital transformation to be a key component of that strategy because we expect digital transformation to ensure that we are innovative and technology is embedded in our ongoing operations and products that we offer to our countries.
So at the end of the day, what is it in any sort of specific metrics that you all have begun to identify in terms of what will be achieved at the end of the transformation exercise?
Well, some of the metrics for us, the digital transformation goes in cycles, right? So our first cycle, because it's a long path, and we're not, how can I say this better? The first stage that we laying out here at CDB is one, having the right agile culture, because again, it's the staff. So we're involving the staff. So we're currently going through process reviews. The staff are the ones doing that, and IT is working side by side with them to ensure that we bring in the right technology to do the right job. So having the staff and the leadership on board is critical in that at the end of the first cycle. At the same time, on the back, IT is adopting, as Carlyle said, we're really going strong with the cloud. Again, we're a bank. We're not an IT company, so we really want to leverage the cloud solution that's out there. We're establishing key partnerships with the bank so we can bring the telecoms and the big tech companies on board as well, so we can achieve our internal transformation, and we're ready to engage also with our countries. So at the end of the day, if we establish those three things in the first cycle, this is how we're going to be measuring success in the first cycle, but it's a long-term process. We're not expecting the transformation to happen within 12 months. We're not setting a time. Again, there's a pace that has to evolve as the business evolve with us. And then once we achieve our desired maturity state, then we do another cycle to see how we can do, how we can continue to improve on top of what we did in the first cycle.
Understood. And as you're talking about cycles, I probably just want you, if probably Carlyle, if you want to start first, what might be some misconceptions that companies have about, or organizations have about the digital transformation process?
Well, I think a lot of people go into a digital transformation process thinking that it's a cure-all for everything. A lot of people do not take the culture change into consideration. And I think that has to be the first and foremost and probably the most important thing that has to happen. Because regardless of what digital technology is put in place, if the culture of the organization is not geared towards taking advantage of that technology, then we're basically wasting time, right? So first of all, it's a change of culture. Then we have to ensure that, again, the people working in the organization are part of the transformation. They have to ensure that they have a stake in what is happening. So it's change of culture, it's participation, and then, of course, the final thing is the actual relevance of the technology. Those three things, I would think.
Understood. Julio, anything to add?
No, actually, Carlyle, it's something that I want to stress is, again, is the culture, is the mindset, the innovation. So sometimes you talk about the disruption and innovation, but you have to set that environment first. So once you set the right environment, the culture, so an open space, empower the staff. And that's not just empower the staff with technology alone, it's giving them, the means that through technology means so they can collaborate and become more efficient. So the innovation, the disruption is going to happen naturally. It should come naturally. We're not trying to force a disruption. We're not trying to force innovation. We just basically trying to work with the staff and the business and eventually with our member countries so they can, once they have the right environment in place, that disruption can happen naturally.
Understood. And I guess, Julio, coming from the diverse background that you have in terms of working environment and working with the CDB, which is a bank, it may not necessarily be a commercial bank, but there would be very clear procedures and rigid procedures, I would think, that would need to be followed. how then, probably when one thinks about digital transformation, agility, and disruption, how is that operating within what might be a very formal construct like a bank?
Well, this is a good question. So we actually, when I started CDB, the digital transformation, when we start having the discussion, it evolved to be the transformation of the bank, and you saw that based on the opening speech from Dr. Smith in that meeting. There was a transformation theme in there, and we doing that transformation internally. The bank is open to we reviewing with the staff the current process, so we bring agility to that process. So the mindset is here, and again, if we try to be, we still a bank, we still have our social and development goals, but we still have to fit in the technology to see how we can be more agile in that process. So again, there's the will from management and the staff to be more efficient. We can process transaction, bring service and solutions to the business more efficiently. So, and they realize that through technology we can do much better. So again, it's the changing in mindset. At the same time, will allow us to maybe change our policy, review our policy and procedures, and this is what we're doing right now. We're reviewing from operations to the corporate side, because again, it has to be the institution as a whole. So we're actually going through a massive process review internally, and that alone, once we get the results of that assessment that we're doing, then we're going to be able to update our procedures to reflect that new bank that we want to be.
Carlyle, anything to add there, since you probably work a little bit more closely with the finance and procedural aspects of the bank?
Well, actually, no, there really is nothing new to add there, because I think we're very well aware that the only way that we could meaningfully change the processes would be to review the policies. Because, as you would know, the processes are there to ensure that the policies are complied with.
Yes.
So if we are ready to look at something comprehensive, we have to look to review our policies as well. And that's what we are doing.
Understood. Okay, and we had mentioned earlier on about agility, and I think that is one of the objectives and desired outcomes of the whole transformation process. But can we just talk more about the relationship between digital transformation and the organizational or business mobility and agile leadership? I guess whether there is an inherent relationship, or should there be a relationship? What are your thoughts?
Well, there's a relationship. Again, if we didn't have the leadership on board, things would be much difficult to achieve. So that agility, the fact that we have management support, we have staff support, that's very positive for what we're trying to do here. In terms of the agility, as we start introducing technology here, and you mentioned about, if I heard right, the mobility. So we established a partnership with one of the telecoms, where we have the mobility that we needed. So our staff in the field, they have access to information on the go. By adopting cloud solutions, we are making that information available anytime, anywhere. So we getting positive feedback in there. So we don't have to go through cumbersome process to log into our network and things like that. The information is out there. They just have to access from mobile devices. And also some of the technology we lay in place here allows collaboration. So we boosting collaboration with that, because before it was more like a mail and a phone call. Now we have a place to go, a one-stop shop in there. That again, is people are adapting to that. But we have been using, that was the solution I was trying to reach out to you in case the recording was, your solution was not going to work. Mm-hmm. So we have technology in place that's going to allow the staff to work more efficiently. I don't know if Carlyle wants to.
Yeah, well, Michelle, digital transformation, the question, you said if it's related to organizational agility.
Yes.
To us, digital transformation is not something there out on its own, right? All digital transformation is allowing us to do, it enables the business to work better. So it's really an enabler. That's what digital transformation is, basically in one word. And by ensuring that there is management and staff buy-in, we are ensuring that once that culture is built and people know how to work with the technology on a day-to-day basis, and knowing that the technology also is there, then that whole culture change will drive us to be a better institution.
Now, granted that when one of the first things that was said is really to focus on people, and I mean the technology is just there to facilitate the work of the people, the processes, the policies, and so on. But in terms of the actual processes, because I'm wondering whether or not, and from what you just said, Carlyle, whether or not one is looking at digital transformation about the technology, people being able to use the technology more efficiently to do what they're doing, and whether or not there should be a greater focus on the processes such that there is the agility there and the responsiveness there. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
I am not sure what the question is there, Michelle. Could you just probably say it again?
Okay, so in what you just said, I got the sense that it was looking at getting the team, both management and all of the staff, to be able to use technology well to do what they need to do. But I was wondering, based on earlier comments that were made, where one is focusing on the people, I was wondering whether or not within the bank, the extent to which the focus in the transformation exercise is on the processes that need to be adjusted to become more responsive, more agile. And as one says, the technology itself almost becomes transparent. It's there in the background to facilitate certain things, but really it's about the process and thus the culture that is being fostered through the updated processes that are being implemented.
So let me try to answer that, Michelle. So when we say the involvement with the people, it's because we work with the staff to streamline those processes, right? And we're expecting inefficiencies, things that were taking long through technology, we can do better. So again, is you cannot change the process alone if you don't have the staff on board. I think that's the point we're trying to make earlier.
Okay.
So assuming that the entire staff is on board, then everything comes down to the process. And once we define the process and we're doing a current process mapping, now we define the future state of the new processes, then we're going to be able to say, okay, this is how we can be more efficient. And how? Okay, this might be an automation here, might be just by bringing the right tools so that team can collaborate more and be more efficient. So, and again, we're aiming this transformation to transform our processes and maybe creating even there's at the table now, even if we can do new products, things that we could not do before, that we can do now because again we bring technology to support that business model. So we're looking at everything, but again, it's with the people we refine our processes, and that's going to come as part of the transformation. And putting the people and technology together is the ultimate goal is to achieve a better process. So I think I hope I'm answering your questions.
Yes, you did. Thank you. And do you see or anticipate disruption in the bank's transformation process, digital transformation process?
We expect, because we some of the technology we have to introduce because they are part of that. Again, we don't want to introduce technology and then define and then have a process defined based on a technology. So
Right.
again, we define our process and we're going to find the best solution to support that new process. But there's technology in the back that we have to introduce regardless of how the process is going to be. So for example, now we're going for a change in our telephone system. That alone is going to be a disruption because people are used to just use the regular phone device, and we're moving away from there. We're moving away from technology that's going to allow us to answer our phone calls, from the office calls, anywhere from our cell phone, from our computer, from our tablets. That alone is a disruption. And again, we're trying to introduce new technology and new changing process bit by bit because we want to make sure that everybody's on board. So disruption will happen. So we're hoping that the new telephone system is going to be much better than the current that we have now, because we get transcripts, we can hear our voice message in one single device. It's always there in the cloud, so you can go back and see who called you. You can make calls from your cell phone over IP, so we reduce costs on our side. So there'll be technology like that, similar like that, that's gonna disrupt little by little the habits that we have on day to day. And then we're gonna go to the big ones later down that is gonna by implement our new processes. So disruption happen because people will transition from system, and that's a disruption right there. You're gonna have to learn and adapt to and adapt the way you work to, by using the new technology we set in place to support those new processes.
Understood. So I'm gathered though that, and I think as one had said earlier, I think Julio, when you were giving us an overview of the CDB, is this bank helping its member countries, in various ways. And I think that I gather that one of the ways that the bank is supporting its member countries is in some digital transformation initiatives that have been occurring. Would you be able to give us some insight into some of those projects?
Well, our initial focus with the digital transformation is mainly internally, right? But we have what I can say that we're going to be trying to do with our member countries in the near future is, for example, bring science, technology, engineering, and math programs to our educational sector. And as Carlyle said in the beginning, as we start doing operations, how we can bring technology into operations, how can we can make smart cities, smart schools, smart buildings. So we're going to be taking a look into the future operations of CDB and see how we can introduce technology in there.
Okay. And do you think that there's a difference between how an organization goes about digital transformation vis-a-vis what a country would do?
Well, a country is far more complex.
Right.
There's a lot of variables that you have to consider when going to the path of a digital transformation. Countries, they have different priorities. They have health issues, educational issues, so many other issues. So one of the important variables, in my opinion, in one, first of all, there's no one size fits all. It's not like Estonia is considered one of the digital nations there. It's not that we can grab what happened with Estonia and just make it happen. So every country is going to be different. So for me, one of the most important variables there for a country is a long-term view, because the digital transformation for a country is not going to happen as fast as it could happen for a regular business. So governance will change, priorities may change, but you have to have the long-term vision. So when countries try to evolve with own targets and priorities, they start they work alongside a vision, so they can achieve that goal of a digital transformation. In a business, if you put in the context of a private sector, I see an opportunity. The transformation of business happens faster. So if you put business as the private sector, innovation happens there. So you put the country, I see the country as the public sector and the business as the private sector. So if we consider the business there, innovation can happen there, because you have different targets, you have different goals. So the complexity is quite different. But if you put that in the context of a private sector, that's when I expect innovation to happen, and they're equally important. So developing the business, the private sector, and developing the countries, they're equally important.
Definitely. Carlyle, you have anything to add? I'm just throwing it out there.
No, nothing of real significance, no.
Okay, so just I think I'm winding down, and probably just my last question. So what would be 3 key pieces of advice you'd give an organization looking to embark upon a digital transformation exercise?
Wow, I might be biased on that one. So I think we said over and over, and the right culture and the leadership support and the staff support on board. I think that's the first layer right there. You have to be willing to do that transformation. You again, there might be something that's driving that. You want to have a new business model, or just do things different in your business. The other one is usually IT, and that's when I said I could be biased on that. is IT cannot be perceived as a support function within a business or within an organization. It has to be a strategic partner. Be there side by side with the business, helping them to achieve more through technology. So that's very important because sometimes it's perceived just as a support function, and instead of be acting, it's reacting to change. The other one is seek the business resilience with the cloud. Depending on the kind of business you are. If you're not an IT business, then leverage the cloud, because then you can have the commodity service for a data center, like your servers, email service, and things of that nature. You have a third party doing that for you, and then you have your IT team focus on the business again. So adopting cloud and establishing key partnerships, letting the best of breed do the work is important. So, and that's actually going to help you to reduce costs over time. So I think that's another important aspect in the digital transformation.
Excellent. Again, Carlyle, do you have any other points you might want to add?
Well, I think what I said earlier, right culture with the right people, partnerships with both people, obviously, and IT, and the right technologies. And a combination of those three would invariably cause disruption, Michelle.
Yeah.
If there's no disruption, it's not being done correctly.
Interesting. I wonder what that means, though, not being done correctly.
Well, done incorrectly could be that, again, you try through a technology to find a process when it should be the other way around. Again, there's not a perfect recipe for that, and it's a process, a learning process. So you have to be also open to learn. You're not gonna get it right all the time, and so as long as you do that agile approach, that you do a continuous improvement, then you're gonna achieve. What you cannot do is just assume you did something and that's not gonna change. I think a digital transformation is not something that has a beginning and end. It's something that's gonna be going forward throughout the entire life cycle for business, the duration for your business. So you have to be looking to evolve and disrupt very often, because once you achieve that status quo, why not challenge that status quo? So I think the transformation goes forever. You know, you have to be challenged. So if you just assume that you're done with your transformation, I think that could be a mistake right there. You should always be transforming. You should always be evolving, adapting with your surrounds, and looking to do a better service and seek for opportunities that might be at your reach.
Well said. And on that note, I just want to thank you both, Julio and Carlyle, for joining me on this episode to talk about digital transformation and to give us some insight into the transformation process that is going on at the Caribbean Development Bank, and some, I think, useful takeaways that other businesses and organizations can consider in their own digital transformation process.
Okay, we thank you. We thank you, Michelle, for having us.
Thank you, Michelle.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the ICT Pulse podcast. You can find links to some of the things we talked about on our website, ict-pulse.com. If you like this episode, please show your support by leaving us a review on iTunes, as it will help others find the show. You can email us at info@ict-pulse.com or drop us a note on our Facebook page, facebook.com/ICTPulse, or via Twitter @ICTPulse. We hope you'll join us again for our next episode. Take care.